Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today on this Gradcracker webinar. Me and Sophie are joining you again to introduce you to the company, and during this webinar, our aim is to find out a little bit more about Zurich. So we will talk about who they are, what they do, and also what opportunities you, our STEM students, can apply to this year on Gradcracker. We will then speak to the students about what life is like for them, what projects they have worked on, if they're involved in any networking groups, what training and development they've received, and also their future plans. We will then end the webinar by discussing the recruitment process and by giving you an idea of how you can be successful when you put your application in. As we have been mentioning, you have had your chance to submit questions for us to ask during this webinar, so thank you very much. We've got some really good ones that we're going to cover today. And don't forget, for future webinars, you can also submit your questions on the webinar page on Gradcracker. So, introductions over, let's meet Zurich. So Zinat, smiley, honestly, these guys are the most smiliest panel I've ever had on a webinar. So I was telling Sophie before we started, I was like, Zinat is also smiling. Zinat came on with massive smiles. So Zinat is very excited to be on this webinar with us. So thank you, Ella, for joining us today. Zinat is the Early Career Talent Advisor, and we'll be giving you an insight into the Zurich roles, which are currently live on Gradcracker, on the hub, and also the recruitment process. We're also joined by graduates Isabel, Pirivine and Michael, who we will be speaking to very shortly. So Zina, tell everybody a little bit more about you and your role.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Carla. So I actually joined Zurich as a graduate myself
Yes.
4 years ago. So I joined in our operations team. I then moved into our early career space because I feel it feels very full circle for me, which I absolutely love. But it's nice to have been someone in that position and know that now I can recruit people to kind of join the journey at Zurich as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I work in our early careers talent team and we're a very small team of two
Yeah.
and we recruit across the UK.
Yeah, fantastic. And is it good being involved in early careers again? Are you enjoying seeing all of these graduates being successful?
Yeah, absolutely. It's so nice as well seeing graduates that you've recruited come and be
Yeah.
successful and then go on to further roles within the company. So
Yeah.
yeah, very, very gratifying.
Perfect. Thank you, Zina. And now on to Zurich. So tell everybody a little bit more about the company.
Amazing. So yeah, we are Zurich Insurance. We are a global company, headquartered in Zurich. Crazy, I know.
Who would
We
have thought,
have
eh?
oh, crazy. So we have about 5,000 employees across the UK, and about 55,000 across the world. We hire across, obviously, like I said, the UK. So we have offices in Glasgow, Manchester, Birmingham, Swindon, Whiteley, just to name a few, and obviously London. Um, so we have grad schemes, apprenticeships, and internships as well that feed into all of our areas. So it isn't just insurance focused, as the students I'm sure will tell you. So we have roles in actuarial, sustainable energy, data and analytics, change and technology management, as well as finance and risk engineering as well. So a lot of roles. Zurich is obviously an insurer that works with everybody from individuals to big corporations. So there is always a day that doesn't look the same as another, which is nice as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you mentioned there, Zina, that it's a huge company, Zurich,
Mhm.
global company you just mentioned, and also massively in the UK. But it does have a real family feel, doesn't it? Do you feel like that?
Yeah, it is very odd, and I think that the consensus is that it's a very friendly company, which is
Yeah.
it's great to hear. I think especially working in my department of about 80, we are all just very close. And I think when you start working in a team or even coming in as a graduate, you really feel that community feel. We have a graduate community who work obviously to make sure that all grads feel welcome as well as interns. But it is such a vast company, but it is crazy how kind of it can feel like such a small business with the people you work with because you spend so much time with them and you build those relationships, which is really nice as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mentioned when we were speaking before this webinar, there's kind of a lot of misconceptions about Zurich and the insurance sector in general. So what kind of misconceptions do you want to bust during this webinar?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think that insurance has a lot of roles, and I think there are a lot of
Yeah.
preconceptions. Like you said, I think when I was 18 to probably 23, it was why do I care about insurance? I just need it
Yeah.
for my car and maybe a holiday every once in a while. And I think it is just so much more than people think. I think the amount of roles that are available as well. I think there is a place for genuinely everyone. I didn't have
Yeah,
a massive interest in insurance, and I'm not a star with numbers, and so I was a bit scared. But going into kind of project management and that world, and then HR, you realize that there is a role suitable for everyone, and I think that that's the main misconception that I want people to understand
yeah,
coming out of this webinar.
yeah, absolutely. Good answer. Now you mentioned your roles are live on Gradcracker. You mentioned there's a variety of the roles there. So just to give the students a bit of a flavour, so we've got a mix of summer and year-long opportunities that you can apply for. So those are all the graduate, undergraduate opportunities, and there are the graduate opportunities there with a deadline of the 26th of October. But Zeenat's just mentioned that we've got record-breaking numbers of applications this year. So don't leave it until the deadline. Make sure you get your application in before the 26th of October because these roles are in demand and might close early. Is there any more of an introduction that you want to give to the roles that you've got advertised on Gradcracker, Zena?
I would say to kind of students on this call, bear in mind you can only apply for one.
Yeah.
So really take your time to do the research and really understand. Gradcracker will give you a great profile on what the opportunities are and what they look like. Also, really look at the location, and whether you can be flexible in that movement as well. As you can imagine, London is very high in demand. So think
Yeah.
about other locations that you can possibly go to. But I would say really think about where your interests align,
Mhm.
what the job is offering you, and what your career journey could look like if you join any one of these schemes.
Yeah, absolutely. So don't forget, after this webinar, get your application in. And like Zena just mentioned, there is a lot of information on the Zurich Hub on Gradcracker. So that we've got lots of video content, people profiles. The job descriptions are very, proves in the name, descriptive, but descriptive about the different roles, who can apply for the roles, and also the locations as well. So yeah, go and find out a little bit more. So what we're going to do now is hand over to Sophie. I will come back to Zeenat towards the end of the webinar, talk a lot more about the application process, hints and tips and everything else. But let's inspire the audience, graduates. And I'll hand you over to Sophie.
Thank you very much, Carla, and thank you very much, Zeenat, for that introduction. I'm really excited to get to know Isabel, Piravine, and Michael in more detail. And I know they're all on very different schemes. So we're going to start with you, Isabel. Would you be able to just give us a quick introduction as to, where you went to university, what you studied, and what you're doing now, please?
Sure. I am from Germany, but I came to the UK for uni. So I did my undergrad at LSE. I did maths with econ. And then I did a master's at Oxford in maths and foundations of computer science. And then, yeah, I think you can hear that I'm pretty interested in maths. And so it was quite a natural progression to apply for actuarial roles. And I did an internship 3 years ago now and enjoyed it so much that I came back 2 years ago as a grad.
Amazing. And you are on the actuarial graduate scheme?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Fantastic. And did you know that you always wanted to be work in actuarial? Was that always something that you had in mind?
Not at all. I think I think it depends on where you are, but I didn't really know any actuaries, and it wasn't really a job that was on my radar as like a possibility, especially at LSE. I think there's a lot of focus on investment banking and consulting, so I was kind of applying to jobs there. And then I think at some point must have also applied to a few actuarial schemes. Don't consciously remember making that decision, but very glad that I did. And yeah, coming here now, I think I realized this is like the perfect job for me.
Oh, amazing. And for the benefit of the audience, explain what an actuary is and what an actuary does.
So there's lots of different types of actuaries, I think. Basically, whenever there's risk involved, you'll need an actuary. So there will be actuaries in almost all companies working in the risk department. For an insurance company, it's especially important to have actuaries because you'll need to price risks and you'll need to hold money back to pay out these risks. And so what I do, I'm in the reserving team and I'm doing the second part. So I'm calculating how much money we need to hold to pay out all our claims.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Isabel. Thanks for the introduction. We will be coming back to you shortly to find out more about your day-to-day life and what you've been up to so far. But I'm going to come across to Piravine now. How are you today?
Hi, thank you, Sophie. I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Just wanted to start again, similar questions to you. Where did you go to university? What did you study? And what are you doing now?
Yeah, so I studied mechanical engineering at University of Nottingham. and that was a bachelor's. And then I went on to do data analytics at Queen Mary University of London. And so now I'm working. I've been at Zurich for 2 years on the grad scheme on the data and analytics grad scheme. So yeah, that's me.
Perfect. And why the switch from mechanical engineering to data and analytics? What was the progression there?
So the common thing with maths, I was always, again, like Isabel, I was always interested in maths, was good at it and enjoyed myself. So it was kind of a natural progression. And then during my engineering, I developed like a kind of interest in coding and the technical sides of data. So it was just kind of a natural progression into that, into the masters, and then directly led on to Zurich.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Piraveen. And you have been at Zurich now for 2 years?
Yes. 2 years.
Fantastic. Lovely stuff. So we'll come back to you again soon to find out a little bit more. But Michael, let's come over to you, find out more. So same questions. Where did you go to uni? What did you study? And what do you do now?
Okay, my name's Michael. I studied chemical engineering with environmental engineering at the University of Bath, and currently I'm on the Sustainable Graduate Scheme.
Fantastic. A type of scheme that I didn't know that they would have at Zurich. So I thought that was really interesting when I was looking through all the notes this morning. And how long have you been at Zurich?
So I've been at Zurich for just over 1 year now.
Just over 1 year. Fantastic. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to come around everybody and just find out a little bit more about the day-to-day, what you've been up to on the scheme so far. Just a note for the audience, all three of our grads are based in London today, so we'll be able to find out a little bit more about working and living in London as well, but we're going to find out more about working life. So Isabel, starting with you, you've given us a bit of an introduction to what an actuary is, but it'd be great if you could give us an overview of some of the work that you've actually been involved in at Zurich over the last couple of years.
Yeah, so I mentioned that we calculate how much money we need to hold back. So I'm in the general insurance side of the company. So we do like big reserve valuation twice a year. And around this time, we'll sit down, we use some statistical methods to project how much money we will need to pay out the claims that have occurred so far. And yeah, I think twice a year we do like a big exercise that takes around 2 to 3 weeks, lots of presentations. There's also a very reporting heavy side to this, because obviously the regulator cares that we can pay out our claims so that we can remain solvent and continue to fulfill policyholder obligations. Yeah, so that's, I think, the kind of the name-giving aspect of our works when we do the reserving.
Okay, and have you been working in exactly the same team throughout your scheme so far, or have you worked in different departments, or has it just been the same team?
So in actuarial, on the GI side, you get allocated into a team and then you stay there, pretty much. So we don't rotate as much as some of the other grads do, but I think there's like also benefits to this, because I think there's a lot to learn at the start, and I think you do get to specialize a bit more when you're in the same team. But yeah, I've been in the same teams at M. So we look after the customers that are in the public sector, kind of, so local government, schools, etc.
Fantastic. So I imagine there's a lot to learn when you first come into that area.
Yeah, definitely.
And did you do your internship or placement in the same team, or did you come back into a different area?
So when I did the internship, there was some rotation, because it was split half and half between 2 teams, and the second team that I was in is the team that I'm in now. But we've changed the internships in actuarial now so that you will only join 1 team, but there's some flexibility between what team you join as an intern and where you go as a grad, depending on where we need the extra hand.
Fantastic. And doing your placement and then going back into university, how did you find that helped and supported you in that kind of final year of university?
I think I would say mostly in terms of soft skills that helped, because I think what I studied, especially during my master's, was not very close to what you need. Like this here is very much applied maths, and then during my uni's time I mostly did like theoretical maths. Yeah. But I think there's a lot to learn in terms of soft skills. I think managing your time, for example, when I did my master's dissertation, I had to put in regular meetings with my supervisor, and I think kind of interacting in a very organized manner, like more professionally, helped me like plan my time, structure the meetings a bit more efficiently. And also I think you just have a bit more confidence in the way you carry yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real benefit, those soft skills that you gain during a placement or internship, to then carry that back through to university. But also, like you said, you know, the applied element of your math skills as well is great to bring back into that. And in terms of rejoining Zurich as a graduate, what was that process like? Did you get offered a role at the end of placement, or did you have to reapply? What did that look like?
It was offered at the end of the placement, so on my last day, I was informed.
Oh, that's a
Oh,
nice way to
brilliant.
end, isn't it? Amazing. And then you go into your final year knowing that you've got that role secured. It takes
Yeah,
so much pressure off, doesn't it, that final year?
definitely. I think, yeah, good luck to everyone out there applying. It's not always nice and fun. It's very good to have something.
Amazing. But there's just so many things there you said about the benefit of doing a placement or internship. You know, this is what the message we want to get off
Yeah.
to our students so often is, you know, yes, there'll be so much benefit for you academically and professionally, but also, you know, you could potentially walk back into university on your final year and and you know, just be able to focus on those studies rather than needing to go through lots and lots of applications. So that's a perfect example, Isabel. So thank you very much. Perveen, I'm going to come across to you now to find out a little bit more about your life on the data analytics scheme. If you could tell us a little bit more about what you've been up to so far.
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of a full circle moment. So when I was doing my master's, I went into Gradcracker myself, and that's where I discovered Zurich and the whole grad scheme. And what stood out to me was when I was doing my master's, I knew I wanted to work in data, but there's several roles within data which you can work in front end, back end, or somewhere in the middle as well. So I wanted something which would help me decide where I want to end up in the long term. So Zurich's grad scheme for data and analytics provides you multiple rotations across the year and allows you to kind of have exposure to all three aspects. So that was one of the big points for me, which made me like kind of want to choose Zurich as an option. And yeah, so whilst after I've joined Zurich, it's been great. I've been in 3 different teams and then currently my 4th different team. So I've done 3 rotations across the data engineering teams, data visualization teams, and data science teams, doing different data related works. And then now I've got the business rotation, so working in the portfolio management team. So yeah.
Fantastic. And if you could bring that to life a little bit for us as to what the difference is, you know, working in data science or data visualization, you know, what sort of tasks would you have done differently, and what type of work is different across those sort of different areas you've worked?
Yeah, sure. So in data visualization or data insight team, they basically mainly look at presenting data, so presenting raw data into a more business useful case. So providing business intelligence and kind of insights that can deliver business value. So this could be in the form of dashboards or presenting business reports or Power BI reports. So a lot of the skills needed are just to do with being able to tell a story with data and how you would kind of present data in a meaningful, impactful way to people that aren't looking at the numbers specifically, but looking at the key insights. So that was a good skill and kind of application of that side of work. And then in data science, you're looking at more machine learning, algorithms, LLM, or predictive stuff. So it's quite a creative space.
Yeah.
And a lot of Python or technical skills are built there across that rotation as well. And then lastly, in data engineering, it's about how data is stored, how raw data is processed into a kind of usable format, and how that can be stored in a safe or accessible way as well. So that was a good experience in terms of how data is coming into Zurich and how it's being sent across through the organization. So it was kind of a full life circle in terms of data from start to finish. And then currently I'm in my business rotation. So this is like applying all the skills I've learned across the 2 years in a business client facing opportunity. So it's really good.
That's amazing to have that full overview of how everything works. It sounds like you get a really rounded understanding of your business areas. That's brilliant. And I know just before we came on this call, we were talking about, you know, how long the different schemes were, because all the schemes are slightly different length. And yours is coming to an end towards the end of this year. So what will happen next for you, Perveen?
Yeah, so when I do come off the scheme, have a conversation with the managers and teams about which rotation I prefer the most and which they feel I fit the best and I feel I fit the best. And from that conversation, we'll be able to decide which team I rotate off into and kind of kickstart the next part of my career.
Amazing. And have you got a preference already?
I'll be honest, I'm still stuck in two minds, but definitely have all the food for thought in terms of I feel like I know exactly what I can expect from each different area. So it's kind of just in my hands to kind of decide which one I want to choose. So still
That's
thinking.
brilliant. Yeah, no, that's great. But it's so good that you've enjoyed every area, that it's not like, oh, it's a clear cut. In a way, that's great because it shows that you've really enjoyed it and really understood and learned a lot from each department that you've worked in. And now I've got, the option to go off and kind of do what you'd like to next. So that's brilliant. Thank you very much. Michael, I don't want to leave you too long. Don't want you to think I've forgotten about you. So yeah, if you could tell us a bit more about the Sustainable Energy grad scheme and what you've been up to.
Okay, so the Sustainable Energy grad scheme has 3 rotations, which are 8 months each, and they're all based in energy. So the first rotation I was on was the ZRS rotation, which focuses on engineering. And now I'm currently working in underwriting. And after a few more months, I'll be in claims. So the 3 rotations really show how insurance works in the energy space. And in my ZRS role, I would be looking at power generation sites. So that could either be gas turbines, wind turbines, solar farms, and looking at ways to essentially reduce the risk for our client. And this could either be done on site through a survey, or depending on how much or the extent that we insure, we would receive a desktop review from another insurer. And using that, we would essentially inform the underwriters so that they'd know the level of risk that they could write, or sort of how much they think they should charge according to the level of risk.
That's amazing. So that really, you can see there the clear kind of line from doing sort of a chemical engineering degree to going into that first rotation. And what does ZRS stand for? If I'm being silly there.
No, it's Zurich Resilience Services.
Okay, so that's where you've had your first 8 months, and now you went claims. Now you're underwriting, or have I got that the wrong way around?
No, so yeah, now I'm in underwriting and I'll do
Okay.
claims after this.
You do claims afterwards. Okay. So going from the ZRS, that kind of seems like really kind of hands-on, working with clients, really a lot of external stuff. Were you doing site visits as well?
I didn't get to do many, but luckily the senior engineers on my team were really for me going to site. So I was able to go on a survey to Amsterdam for a energy from waste plant. So essentially they incinerate waste and reuse the energy. So it was really hands-on. And while there, I presented a presentation of the potential risk improvement actions to the clients.
That's amazing. That's such a big thing to be doing, especially during your kind of first rotation. You've got so many, you're traveling, going to some like a client site, and then you're doing a big presentation, which again is going back to what Isabel was saying, that these soft skills that are so important and will be really valuable throughout your career as well. So when you finished that and you went into underwriting, what sort of work are you doing on a day-to-day basis in that team?
So in underwriting, I realized there's a lot of technical language, but it's very different from sort of engineering. So there are loads of contracts, loads of wordings, and really I've been in the energy liability team where I've been supporting them, trying to make sure that the sort of, I don't want to say tax codes or premiums line up according to countries, as Zurich is a multinational company. So often they'll be providing cover for companies that operate in many different places. And as such, they have different ways of processing. And I act as a sort of go-between between our underwriting services team and our underwriters, trying to make sure that everything is in order so that we get paid properly.
Wow, okay. So there's a lot, it seems like in the last 2 rotations, there's a lot to learn. I bet there's lots of acronyms and lots of technical stuff that
So
you have
many
to remember.
acronyms.
I bet you've got a little notepad with all the acronyms written down. That's what I would do. Fantastic. And then when you go into claims, then will that still be focused on energy when you move into that team?
Yeah, so I'll be looking at sort of both property claims and liability claims. So if an example would be if there was perhaps like an oil spill and there was a claims for that, I'd essentially be the claims handler, and I'd essentially find out who is at fault and how liable our client would be to see how much we would need to pay. And I think this actually relates a bit to reserving that the actuaries do, and we'd be able to see how much reserving we would need from that.
So it kind of shows how the teams all kind of interlink together a little bit there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Fantastic. And so your scheme is 3 8-month rotations. And what would happen after that last month rotation? Would it be similar to what Piraveen was talking about, that, you know, you'd have a conversation, decide where you want to go?
Yeah, that's the exact same as Pyramid. And right now I have no clue. All of the rotations have been pretty good so far.
No, that's brilliant. Well, you've still got some time left on your underwriting, and then you've got claims. There's no point making a decision yet, because you might go into claims and think, okay, this is the life for me. But no, that's really good, and it's great to get such a difference of experiences in different departments that you're all working in. And I think, going back to the misconceptions that Carla and Zeenat were talking about at the beginning, I wouldn't have expected there to be such a range of opportunities in so many different areas. So it's great that we're getting that message out there today. Isabel, I'm going to come back to you, because I didn't ask you, like I did with Piravin and Michael, about next steps, you know, what you're looking to do kind of after the grad scheme. Would you be looking to stay in exactly the same team?
I think in the short to medium term, yes. I think there's still, I notice that I still have a lot to learn, and I don't feel like the learning curve has flattened out just yet. But I think in the longer term, I think there's definitely interest on my side to like rotate a bit, maybe potentially also into other teams. And Zurich tends to be quite supportive of that kind of thing. So for the actuaries, there's like an international rotation scheme that they advertise, and you can also go into pricing, try out the other side, I guess, of the actuarial department, or even capital, which is something else entirely, but I won't get into that because that gets very technical.
I think you'll just burn my brain if you do that. I'm trying to remember everything and understand what everyone's doing. No, that's brilliant. Thank you, Isabel. I'm going to stick with you now, just kind of almost going back a step, because I think we've heard a really good overview of what everyone's been up to and kind of what next steps are. But I think a lot of what our audience will like to hear about is, you know, how is kind of training development supported at Zurich? You know, you're going straight onto the scheme. You didn't have necessarily any experience in actuarial before you joined Zurich. So what does that kind of training program look like for you?
I think for actuaries specifically, obviously there's like a qualification that you're trying to achieve. I guess the other streams also have qualifications that they are trying to attain, but the actuarial qualification is quite involved, and you have to do exams, and those are done by the actuarial body that is external to Zurich. So for that, I think that tends to take like around 4 years to fully qualify. And Zurich is quite supportive in getting you the study support you need. So essentially, it comes out to about a day a week that I don't have to work and I can just study from home. They pay for the study material, and for the later exams, they also pay for tutorials, etc. So that's the study support we get. That's kind of helping with the formal training, I would say, that you need as an actuary. And then what's quite nice at Zurich is that, at least on the GI side, they're also quite interested in helping us build like the soft skills that you need to be an actuary. So we have something called Actuarial Academy, and that's organized by some of the more senior actuaries, and they give us sessions and explanations. So I think when I first joined, we got an intro to reserving, intro to pricing, and then they intro to Excel, which is so important. And yeah, so those are more practical skills, but still like formal learning sessions. And it's quite nice, as it is also coming a bit full circle for me. Like next week, I'm doing the intro to reserving for the new grads.
Oh, that's amazing that you get involved in that as well. Oh, love it. Okay, so that's kind of the formal side of things, and the, you know, the training that you get specifically to your job. Is there kind of other things in the team, you know, if you're learning a new software or need to use a new tool, is that all kind of done on the job? How's that sort of stuff managed?
I think there's loads of different ways to do it. A lot of it, I think, ends up being on the job but I think it's a personal preference. There are training materials available. We have page with all sorts of training courses. You get access to LinkedIn Learning. I have done in the past some more formal, more actual training courses to help, for example, my SQL, which I didn't use before coming here, and now I end up having to use quite a lot. And I think it helps you get started. But then after that, I tend to prefer doing it on the job, but it's really up to what kind of a learner you are.
But it's great that you've got that option as well, you know, that you can, some people learn by doing, other people prefer that kind of classroom setting. It seems like you've got the kind of the option there at Zurich, so that's great.
Definitely.
Thank you, Isabel. Pravin, I'm going to come to you now to find out a little bit more about training and development, but I'm going to go right back to basics with you. So if we talk about the sort of first, say, first month at Zurich, what did that kind of induction look like in terms of getting you started, getting used to where you're working, training, getting you bedded in? Well, how did all of that work?
Yeah, so I think the first day, I remember my first day at Zurich, and it was really just set up in a way where it was fully organized. I was able to meet my first team. Everyone was in person, and collecting my laptop to kind of get me all the admin accesses. Everyone was really supportive, and it was really structured in that sense of kind of onboarding. They've even got like onboarding welcome packs that they kind of talk you through and have conversations with. So the first week and the first few weeks are just kind of you onboarding and getting familiar with the company, the team, and the people. So it was really such a warm and smooth process. So I really enjoyed that, and I really cherish that to this day as well. So that was one of the most enjoyable parts of the first month. And in terms of training, I think there's always experiences from the team around you. Obviously, they've learned across their careers, so they pass on that knowledge to you and kind of pass on what works for them, what might work for me. So taking on board those suggestions and kind of doing what works for you as well, because I think it's important to understand the balance between what works for someone else might not work for you. So there's always opportunities, and everyone's there to kind of guide you in where you can find that kind of support. So that was a big thing.
Lovely. No, that's great. I think it's really nice. Those first few weeks can be so daunting, can't they, when you're starting a new job, potentially relocated. And for you to say that it's still something that you really cherish is just like, I think it'll put a lot of people at ease that, you know, it's not a really daunting process. You know, you are really well supported. I'm sure Zinat will agree that this is something that the team will be really, you know, happy to hear, and will really encourage. You know, that's what they want. They want people to come in and feel really kind of at home straight away. So thank you very much for that, Piravin. Michael, coming to you about your experiences and sort of training development that you've had so far. Are there some kind of key things that you've had at Zurich that you think that have been especially useful for you?
So I'd say similar to Proven, on the first few weeks, they are very, very helpful. So I remember my first day, I was actually home for the entire day, but they sent the laptop to my home address. And then I had a call to set up everything, get all the accesses. And then the next day when I came in, my manager, essentially, he allowed me to have a half day. And then we went out for lunch and I met the entire team, and it was quite nice. And I was thinking, wow, this is like really homely. It feels like a family could be built here. And just as time went on as well, there's like a grad committee. So from there, I joined the grad committee. So I got to meet people in the years above. And that's actually how I met Piravin. He's in one of the teams with me. And from there, I was just able to network with the grads and have a good onboarding. And then on the sustainable scheme, similar to the actuarial scheme, we're given essentially 6 hours each week to do study. So we have this qualification from the Chartered Institute of Insurance, where we essentially get certified as knowledgeable people in insurance. And there are different levels, and we also have an apprenticeship where we have external mentors which essentially talk to us, and they give us sort of like tasks to help deepen our knowledge on insurance.
Fantastic. I was actually going to come on to ask about sort of the graduate specific events and, you know, how the graduates all kind of mix together. So that's a really kind of good start on that. Is there anything else that the committee kind of sets up, or anything else that you do just as graduates to kind of help and support each other as well?
So I definitely think it's important to actually talk to graduates across the years.
Mhm.
And the committee has a social side. So through this last year, our social committee has essentially done loads of like after work events. So we did, I think the last one we did was darts, social darts, and we also did well, this was actually the entire company, but we had a team for graduates for like a sports day essentially. So
Nice.
it's a mix of like fun and getting to know people.
That's brilliant. And I think that's nice. And again, when you're just starting at a company and don't potentially know lots and lots of people, those things can be really, really important to actually make those connections, make some new friends. And it's great to see that you've got that kind of, the encouragement to do that as well. So thank you, Michael. Isabel, I'm going to come back to you now just to find out again, just moving away a little bit from that kind of that work life as to what sort of things you've been involved in outside of work at Zurich. Are there networking groups outside of like the graduate committee? Are there teams and clubs that you can join? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we have like some of the, like, very quickly just to stick with the grad theme, there's like some, I'm also part of one of the grad committee's streams. And then outside of the things that are organized by the grad committee, there's also some events organized by the early in careers team for the new grads, like some workshops and sessions. I remember we had like a 2-day workshop on presenting with impact and helping us to like learn how to do presentations. And outside of that, there's also other employee resource groups. I'm in the, I think it's now been, we have renamed a few times, but it's now EDGE. So that's the gender equality resource group, which is really cool. We get to talk to, there's usually sessions with different leaders in the with different leaders in the company, telling their stories about how they got to where they are now. And yeah, there's also the Cultural Awareness Network. And I feel like there's loads of resource groups out there. I definitely don't know all of them.
Sometimes your mind goes blank on these things. It's like I'm trying to think. No, that's brilliant. So there's lots and lots of stuff for students and grads to get involved in when they join Zurich. And then do you do sort of specific team events as well? So outside of like the wider graduate and company events, do you, I don't know, just go for drinks or do events just as kind of the actuarial team?
I think the actuaries tend to kind of be a bit outside. We were a bit back office, I suppose. But there are sometimes opportunities to mix. I think the commercial team, but then that will not be the entire team usually. Like maybe all the commercial teams will do something together. And yeah, I think all of the resource groups might do cross-department activities together as well.
Nice. So there's lots of things going on. Piraven, coming to you now, just to talk about that kind of outside of work, what sort of your experiences of that? What sort of things have you been involved in?
Yeah, so very similar to Michael and Isabel in terms of I've been part of the grad committee for 2 years now. So I started off as a member of the team and then now the team lead. So being part of the social networking team, so kind of organizing socials and helping organize socials. We do like monthly calls where all the grads come on virtually as well to kind of just have a chat, have a little catch up, see what everyone is up to, kind of projects they're working on or any other interests as well. It's kind of a casual, informal conversation. But then we also do kind of organize, Zurich is passionate about charity, quite passionate about promoting charity and doing volunteering for charities. So a big part of that is ZCT, which is Zurich Charity Trust. And so during the year, we have like charity days where we've organized where teams or groups of people go out to either elder homes or volunteering at many charity homes and things like that. So organized days such as that. So being a part of that and touching on Cultural Awareness Network. So that was another employee resource group where I took part in the sip and paint. It was nice to meet a lot of different people from different offices as well who gathered together in the London office. And we were able to have a few drinks and kind of draw some silly paintings. So that was a lot of fun as well. So there's a lot of groups, and I think like Isabel said, like there's loads of groups that the list goes on. So it's hard to name all of them, but there's definitely something out there for everyone. So that is a real positive.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank you all for giving us such a great overview. It's been really interesting hearing about all the different schemes, you know, how you've kind of all found your way to what you're doing now. And then also, obviously, life outside of just that kind of day job, which is, you know, you spend a lot of your time at work. So it's great to know that you've got that support externally as well to kind of make friends and meet new people too. But yeah, I'm going to hand back to Carla now to find out how we get the job at Zurich.
Thank you very much, Sophie, and thank you, everybody. You've definitely inspired the people who are watching this webinar today. So, like Sophie said, how do you apply? Hints and tips are coming your way now. But we've just got 2 questions, Zina, that I want to cover with you first, please. And I think, Michael, you've answered this question already, but Zina, in case you wanted to add anything. So, Sonia from the University of De Montfort asks, so she's currently studying engineering. What specific skills could somebody with a background in engineering take into the insurance industry?
Well, that's a very good question. I think for me it is the transferable skills, especially if you're not going on to our risk engineering opportunity, 'cause it's not open this year, so that would be very hard for you to do. But for our other schemes, it is about those transferable skills. I think from my understanding of kind of those engineering degrees, you are doing a lot to do with numbers, and that's really helpful when you come into the insurance market. Hopefully Michael will back me up here and I'm not absolutely just talking rubbish. But I think as well from that engineering background, it is getting to apply that in your day-to-day and kind of drawing on your experiences at uni and the kind of theories you learn as well and how you can bring that into reality. But yeah, for us, it is about the transferable skills that you have from that and thinking about kind of, you do need that technical side, but also the soft skills you learn during that time when you were doing your degree as well. So hopefully that is a helpful answer.
Yeah, definitely. Michael, is there anything in particular, like studying engineering at university, that you took with you to Zurich, do you think?
Honestly, I think Zena pretty much said it. It's just having the math skills and obviously willing to keep trying stuff because you might not get it straight away. And I'm sure as an engineering student, that happens a lot. So as long as you're able to keep trying, you definitely be able to thrive at Zurich.
Yeah, and you've got that thirst for knowledge. I think that's important. If you want to learn, you know, you will thrive at Zurich. Perfect. Thank you, Michael. And next question, Zinat, is from Benjamin at the University of Leeds. He graduated in 2022. Can he still apply, or does it have to be more recent graduates?
So for our graduate schemes, we take candidates who have been 3 years within graduation. So he would just fall out of 23, 24, 25. Yeah, so if it was July 22, he would just fall out of that remit of graduating within that time period for us. Unless you've done obviously a master's or another form of a degree, then obviously that will reset your time kind of, which is nice.
Fantastic, lovely, great to know, thank you. So we've just mentioned, or we mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, your roles that are currently live and open on Gradcracker. As I said before, we've got a mixture of summer, year-long and graduate opportunities as well. So when a student goes on the Gradcracker, they'll mention that they've watched this webinar, they'll have done the research, they've read the job description, looked at the location, click apply. What's the next step? There's a lot to do.
Amazing. I'm very impressed you got that all done, Carla. Nice job.
I was scanning the Yahoo on Gradcracker in my mind. Could you see?
Yeah, so at Zurich, we operate on a blind CV process for our early careers opportunity, and this is really for us to allow a fair and inclusive opportunity for all.
What does that mean, Tina? I'm gonna stop you there. So what does blind CV mean?
I will drill down into that. So when you apply, you will have to attach your CV to our system, and we use a global system. There is nothing that we can do to turn that off, unfortunately. We have tried, we promise. So essentially what that means is no one from the team will look at your CV when they're making the decisions on whether to hire you. The people that are interviewing you also won't have seen your CV, so they are going completely off of the basis of who you are, what you're delivering, and what you're saying in the moment. And that's something we really pride ourselves on at Zurich, to allow that inclusivity. So hopefully that will give an overall kind of view. So based on that, when you click apply, you will then get taken to our landing page. From that, you will do your application. So from the application, it kind of asks you, do you meet the standard requirements of the scheme you are applying for? Typically, this will be, have you got 5 A stars to C's at GCSEs, inclusive of English and maths? Have you got a particular amount of A levels? And this can vary dependent on the stream. I know actuarial have a slightly higher requirement in terms of their A levels, and they also require a maths A level that's completed. And then obviously it is, are you within either your penultimate year if you're applying for an internship? Are you on a placement year degree if you're applying for a placement year? And obviously you can guess it. Have you graduated, or are you recently going to graduate for a graduate scheme? So it would obviously ask you dependent on that and what your degree was. Typically, we ask for a 2-1 and above for all of our schemes, and that is kind of the standard across our streams, I would say. And then some of our schemes might have certain degree requirements. So you can imagine for accounting, they are looking for an accounting and finance degree, particularly. If you have something that is very similar, so an economics degree, obviously that is also acceptable. But those requirements are really defined on the Zurich Hub on Gradcracker as well. So you can have a look at that and get your understanding from that. If you are successful in then reaching and doing that application, I promise I'm saying a lot of words, but it is easier than it sounds. You then get to our online assessment stage, which is there might be some numeracy dependent on the scheme you're applying for. It is typically psychometric. So we are kind of looking at your motivators and how it aligns to Zurich's values. If you then do well at that, we will then put you forward for our job simulation and video interview. This is about 5 to 6 different questions that you will do by video interview. It's a self-recorded video interview. I know that's not always the most comfortable thing, but I promise you we are not that harsh. We are looking at what you can say, and we are not comparing you to anyone else either. And that again aligns to Zurich's values and our motivators and how you can fit into that as well. If you are, again, successful in that and one of our top completers, we will then invite you to final interview with the people that you'll be working with in the future if you are successful. So your business area and the people that might be your managers or your buddies in the future, they will be the ones interviewing you. And that is, again, a competency-based questions. I know sometimes that is a bit different to what other companies do sometimes. So it's rather not about what you have done and provide us examples. It's about what you would do. And again, that really allows us that fair approach. So it's about what you would do in a situation, and typically is about kind of Zurich values again, and typical things that might happen in a day in your life at Zurich and how that can look like, because we understand that not everyone has the same experiences. And we don't want to discount that either. Obviously, that will shape your answer, and those experiences will hopefully allow you to provide stronger answers. But it's very much about what you would do rather than what you have done.
Fantastic.
And hopefully that's a very whistle-stop tour.
I can't believe you can remember all that, Zine. Absolutely. So we've spoken to the grads here on the call today who sound absolutely amazing. From your point of view, you've spoken to a lot of grads over the years. I'm not trying to age you, but you have. So tell me about any hints and tips. How do you think students can be successful? What are your standout points during the application process? What do you look for?
That's a really good question. So, and we obviously do get it a lot, and it's hard for us because we don't look at CVs, and I know a lot of people pride themselves on saying what is unique in CVs, but for us, it really is about who you are on the other side of that assessment and the video interview as well. We really want people to be their authentic selves coming through the process. We understand and feel the pain of AI and the way that students are using it. We would recommend, and we ask that you don't use it in our process, just to allow that kind of fair process for all. We, like I said, really do want people to be themselves on camera, and really talk to who they are and kind of how they can impact Zurich's culture as well. We just want people to be kind of honest and that authentic self during the process. That is my strongest tip. I also think take your time with it. The online assessment is not timed. You can come back and you can do it as much whenever you need to. So don't worry about rushing that too much. I think with a video interview, I think people really drive themselves insane with how a video interview can go. And I think obviously you can only try your best, and that's all we ask. I wouldn't drive yourself insane with the video interview. I promise it's not that scary. And I would just say, if you have any questions, reach out to ourselves, obviously, and just ask. We will always reply within 2 to 3 days, and we will never penalise you if our replies are delayed. So just ask the question if you're ever unsure.
Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot here, Zina, so apologies. But you've been through the graduate program. You've mentioned that you were a graduate. How, why have you been so successful? What have you done to be so successful at Zurich? Oh, it's all about
me successful, Carl. That's really helpful. Do you know what I think? And I think the guys have all alluded to it, but I think building a really strong network at Zurich has been really helpful for me. But I also think the opportunities that have been provided, I think Isabel alluded to it as well. You can move horizontally at Zurich. It's not all about that kind of upwards promotions and continuously going. And that really allowed me the space to figure out what I'm passionate about and what I really enjoy. And I've gone from a project manager in operations to a HR early careers advisor. And it's because I'm very passionate about it. And I'm very passionate about having more people that look like me and come from my background and have the same experience as me work in the industry, because I think that that is the best way to make that change. And I think being open-minded and building that network has allowed me to be successful at Zurich, and I hopefully will continue to allow me to be successful at Zurich.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, I love that answer. Thank you very much, Zina. So again, we've got a quite particular question now, and this is to the grads if we can. So James at Edinburgh Napier, really good question here. So he's studying mechanical engineering, and he wants to know either a soft skill or a technical skill. What skill have you gained or grown the most in since starting your time there at Zurich? And Isabel, I'm going to come to you first.
I think for me, it's definitely soft skills, because I think my technical skills, I think, used to always be pretty, like, I was always pretty good at maths, but I think things where I struggled was like presenting, for example. I think that didn't come very naturally to me. And I think that has much improved in my time here. And I think that's definitely for me the biggest change.
Absolutely. Well, you are a brilliant presenter because you've done fantastically well on this webinar, so I can vouch for you there, Isabel. So thank you for that. Praveen, same question to you.
Yeah, so I think naturally through the data analytics grad scheme, there's a lot of technical skills relating to Python and or Snowflake, which uses SQL, SQL, and I think coming off the masters, I had a bit of experience using those languages, but not to the extent that other people in the team do. So I was very much a beginner or intermediate. So now I think over the 2 years, I've built a lot of confidence in using those tools and using those different softwares. So there's lots of opportunity to kind of develop those skills whilst on the job and through different training. So that's a technical skill that I think I gained. And then coming on to soft skills, I think this was one that surprised me, was like building relationships with people and really building connections. This can be either with stakeholders that you're working on projects for, or like people outside of your network. So like through these employee resource groups, so like cultural network or graduate committee, people that you just wouldn't bump into on projects. So building those different types of relationships, whether it's kind of work related or not, and having those conversations and really getting to know a lot of different people.
So just stay with you, Praveen, if I can. So you mentioned about the skills that the technical skills that you gained at university, and obviously using those skills, utilising those skills when you started at Zurich. So there's going to be a gap, isn't there, between you being offered the job and you starting the job at Zurich. So is there any recommendations then, if somebody was going into your team, if somebody wanted to kind of gen up on any of those skills, would you suggest that they do that, or do you think just wait until you start and then all of your training will be given? What advice would you give there?
So I think there's two sides of this. So the data analytics grad scheme specifically, they don't only they look at anyone, so anyone from different backgrounds. So I know the other grad that works alongside me, she's come from a biology background, so she didn't have much coding or specific Python related experience before. So she came in as a complete beginner and she's thriving at her job today. So there is that avenue where you build the knowledge and the skills through the job and through external learning whilst you're on the grad scheme. But then from my perspective, obviously I was able to come with the experience and then kind of just add on to that knowledge. So if there is someone who's got a gap between starting a job at Zurich and between the summer, maybe just obviously it's advantageous to kind of have that extra knowledge and kind of build your confidence prior to joining, but it's not something that's going to stop you from doing well at your job or getting a job at Zurich.
Perfect, good advice there. Thank you very much. And Michael, on to you. So, best skill that you've learned or developed so far?
So from a soft skills perspective, I definitely say it's active listening, which is like really key when you're presenting, because when someone's asking a question, you want to actually be able to answer the question they've given you. But it's also useful for when you've been given a task, so you know what you need and you can ask the questions directly to whoever it is, if it's your manager or someone you're working with, to get to the bottom of the problem. So I'd definitely say active listening from a soft skills perspective. And then from like hard skills, I'd say Excel. Although I'm no expert at Excel. I'd say I've definitely improved quite a bit. I've been just working. I've used macros a little bit. I didn't even know what that was before I joined. So I definitely say that, yeah.
Fantastic. Oh, Excel crops up in a lot of these calls that we have. It's like, I'm proficient in Excel. It's like, people still use Excel. Fantastic, lovely. Thank you very much for that, Michael. Really good insight there. And now, this isn't a question from a student, it's a question from me because I'm allowed. It's our webinar. So Zina, I'm going to come to you first. Best part of your job, apart from speaking to me.
How did you know, Carla? How did you know?
Exactly, I know.
I think it's what I've already said, but I think it's and you've also mentioned it, but being able to see people that we've recruited come
lovely.
through the company and do so well and be so successful. And I think as well, being able to kind of change the stereotype and the view that people have of the insurance industry and the way the market may look to people on the outside and what it actually is on the inside. And I think being able to kind of spread that message and talk to like-minded people is probably the best part of my job, obviously.
Yeah, lovely, perfect, good answer. Thanks, Zina. Isabel, best part of your job?
It's going to be kind of similar, but I would also probably say the people. But yeah, I think this network here is so supportive, and I think the most exciting part about the job is like being able to like engage in these interesting conversations, challenge others, get challenged on your own, and like learn in this way. And I think, yeah, everyone here is so lovely.
Yeah,
it's a great time working here.
No, they are definitely lovely. Praveen, you're not allowed to say people, and neither are you, Michael. So if you're going to say people, think of something else. You've got you've got a heads up there. Praveen, go on,
Yeah.
not people.
Thank you. So I'd say it's the opportunity to kind of work with new projects. And again, I'm going to touch on people, but it's like new projects because you can work with different areas of the business, whether it be HR side projects or retail business side, pricing side projects. So I've had the opportunity to work with different areas of the businesses. So it gives me exposure to different new things, new tools and new decisions, how different people work as well. So different stakeholders, what priorities are important to them and what makes them make these business decisions. So I think that's probably the best part of my job. Every project is different and it's almost like every new month I'm working on a new project. So it's very fast paced as well.
Fast paced and very inspiring. Thank you. And Michael, what would you say?
Yeah, I'd say it's the learning and the opportunities.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's always something new to learn about. And especially with my manager, if there's something which I want to sort of focus on and I tell him, he'll normally like put his hand out and sort of help create a path for me. So it's quite easy to look into what I'm interested in.
Yeah. And it shows that people care as well, doesn't it? They want you to do well, they want you to thrive and, you know, experience what you want to experience as well, which is really important. Perfect. It's been amazing, as it always is with Zurich. I love you guys. So thank you very much for joining us today. I can't look at you, Zina. I'm just going to start laughing. Stop it. But thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Make sure, serious now, you get your applications in. Deadline is October, like I mentioned at the beginning, but the opportunities might close early. So don't rush, but get your applications in sooner rather than later. There is truly something for everybody. So summer, year-long placements, internships and your graduate opportunities as well. And like Zina mentioned at the beginning of the webinar, make sure you look at all the different locations. There's definitely lots of locations on there which are highlighted on the Zurich Hub on Gradcracker. So thank you guys for joining us. Sophie is taking a well-earned break next week and Jessica is back with me and we're joined by SSE. But again today, thank you very much everybody. Good luck and we'll hopefully see you all again soon. Take care everybody.